Well, that's interesting, but you see, there's an awful lot of assumption there. First of all, that's their translation. Who then is the faithful and discreet slave? Well, any group can say, listen, we are the people mentioned there in Scripture, but it is our job to test that proposition. First of all, they say that only 144,000 currently of the Jehovah's Witnesses are anointed ones. The rest of the Christians, the ones who mostly come to your door, do not claim to be anointed at all. They don't claim to be one of the 144,000. So it's a complete fabrication on their part to claim a position of seniority like that, to be the faithful and wise servant of God, unless you can show that what they're teaching coincides with Scripture, and it evidently does not. When they teach that the second coming happened in 1914, and there were earlier dates set which failed, that would be an indication straight away they are not the faithful and wise servant of God at all. Because if you make a mistake about when the second coming is going to be, you have already automatically then designated yourself an unfaithful slave. The other point would be that they say that Jesus is Michael the archangel before he was born. Well, that's obviously false, because in Hebrews chapter 1, it says, to which of the angels did God ever say at any time, you're my son whom I've begotten? It's a rhetorical question, and the answer is never, ever, ever, ever did God say that his son, his begotten son, would be an angel. Therefore, these are colossal mistakes. The problem is that groupthink takes over a group. Once you commit yourself to that group being right, groupthink steps in massively and makes it almost impossible for you to question the system. Then you're caught. You're enslaved to those people who claim to be the true slaves. You need some help from other people who have also studied the Bible. Many of us have spent a career studying the Bible. That doesn't guarantee that we're right. But once, for instance, you've said that you've signed up for the Watchtower, then they're going to do their level best to keep you there. But may I say that a lot of what they're teaching would not be supported by any commentary in any language for 2,000 years, particularly the failed dates for the parousia, the second coming. The idea of an invisible second coming is plainly false to Scripture. The idea that Jesus was an angel or archangel before he entered the womb of Mary from outside is self-evidently false to those of us who try to study the Bible correctly. So we are meeting a lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses who, when they have questions, the groupthink idea somehow breaks down for whatever reason. When they have questions, are immediately removed from the group. You cannot question God's inspired servant. It's this matter of control, which people recognize in other big churches. The Roman Catholics have a large degree of control, but the Watchtower has a severe degree of control over the minds of their adherents. So all I can say is get on your knees and beg God to show you that you might possibly be mistaken.
So once again, the story then, the faithful and sensible or wise servant or slave,
yes,
is any Christian, right? Any Christian who keeps the
Christian,
faith.
absolutely. One would expect then a true Christian to be measured by the standards of Scripture. That's what we're all trying to do.
So it's not some select anointed group only.
They have divided the Christian group into two major factions. One is the so-called 104, who are the anointed ones. The rest are the also-rans, so to speak, all the rest of the believers. And those at your door don't claim to be one of the special group. And in so doing, they don't even claim to be Christians. They say, we're not anointed. Only the 144,000 are anointed. Now, one further point is this. In Revelation 7:14, we have the other reference to the great tribulation other than Matthew 24. And it there says in Revelation 7:14 that the 144,000 are those who came through and out of the future great tribulation. So you can't possibly claim to be one of them now when the great tribulation hasn't even happened. It will happen at the end of the age, just before the second coming. So the claim really does not cohere at all. All one can say, please look at this again. You may have been taken for a ride. Groupthink may have smothered your thinking and rendered you dull and unable to understand the text of Scripture well.